Hey guys, and welcome to my channel. And today we're going to be doing a review on the one and only Naruto. I did a top 25 list of my favorite manga of all time, and Naruto unfortunately did not make my top 25. And I did feel this sense of guilt over that just because this manga does hold a very special place in my heart. And there's a reason why it didn't make my top 25, but it's not because I don't love Naruto. In fact, I really, really do love this manga, and I want to give it a fair review. And so, just to give you guys an idea, I got into Naruto back in 2000, and it's really the gateway anime and manga that really got me into this whole genre. Without Naruto, there's no way that all of this and all of that and all of what's under my staircase would not have happened. My extensive manga collection, I really do owe it to Naruto. Naruto is my first love. And Naruto himself, as a main character, I think is probably one of the most likable battle shonen main characters of all time. I really, till this day, have not been as attached to a main character as much as I've been to Naruto in that battle shonen genre. Even characters that I love, like Gon or Deku. Deku doesn't really do it as much for me, but characters like Gon and other characters, they just don't quite measure up to Naruto. And I think it's just because he's so genuine, he's so complex, and I really like that about him. I really like the fact that he has this very pure heart, but at the same time, if you piss him off, the QB comes out and it unleashes this kind of like this like demon in him and this negative side of him. And I like that. I like the fact that he's just not all good, right? Like Naruto isn't 100% good, but he's mostly good. He's by and large good, but he does have this very dark side to him, and I like that because it adds to the complexity of this character, right? Even when he's at that showdown with Zabuza and Haku, and then he realizes that Sasuke is dead. I mean, Sasuke is not really dead, but he thinks Sasuke is dead. And then all of a sudden, he turns into this QB. The QB starts leaking out, and he just starts beating up Haku. And he has this kind of dark moment, but then he eventually snaps back to himself. And that's what I love about Naruto. It's like, it's not all just fun and games. It's not all just Naruto is not just like this guy who's always gonna let everything slide. No, he's gonna have moments where he's gonna get pissed off, right? He got pissed off when he thought Hinata was down, right? I think that's when he went off on Pain, right? So Naruto has these like moments where it's very relatable, right? And I think that's what's so relatable about him is that mixture of good as well as the dark side to him. So, the dynamic between Naruto and Sasuke is absolutely fantastic. And if I had to grade just Naruto without Naruto Shippuden, it would be a A or A plus in my book. I think it's one of the most well-written mangas, and I think that Kishimoto clearly thought that part really through in terms of like the world building and the characters. The dynamic between Naruto and Sasuke is fantastic, and this idea of Sasuke, that he's gonna go to the dark side, and Naruto has this like die-hard loyalty towards him, and that dynamic, really hits home in this part of Naruto. Now, the third main character, which is Sakura, I mean, she's totally kind of useless in this. Like she's always kind of just like that third wheel there, and Kishimoto, to be fair, he's not great at writing female characters. He's really not. They're always just kind of like, oh, look at my love of my life. Oh, I want him. Like it's just like there's no depth to these characters. I don't think there's much depth to any of the any of the female characters in the story. Maybe Tsunade a little bit, but yeah, he's not great at the female characters. If that's your thing, then maybe Naruto's not for you. But one of the things that the relationships and the characters that are built in this, you really do sense this very special bond when that team is assembled to go after Sasuke. You do sense a special bond between the teammates, Shikamaru and Neji and Naruto and all that. Like you really sense this camaraderie, and that's really what makes Naruto so special. But also, I have to admit the Chunin Exam is probably my favorite exam arc in shonen, right? And there's a lot. I've read a ton of different exam arcs in shonen. I think almost every battle shonen has some exam, right? I mean, it's one of the most typical things. But Naruto, I felt like, does it better than everyone else. Starting from the forest arc. The written arc was okay. I mean, it's bearable, but the forest arc is really where everything just takes off, and it's not just a forest arc, but it's also the arc where they introduce Orochimaru, right, and this like primary villain that's in Naruto. So that was really cool, and so I have to admit, like, that was one of the most binge-worthy arcs that I've ever gone through. I binged that whole series, and the Rock Lee Gaara fight is probably one of the most legendary fights that you'll ever see in Battle Shonen. Rock Lee as a character is one of the most relatable characters. Even people like myself, I really relate with Rock Lee. I am not that talented of a person, right? I was never that talented of a person, but I was able to overcome a lot of my deficiencies through hard work, right? And that's a valuable lesson that I feel like people need to learn. And so Rock Lee really gives off that message of like hard work can overcome things, but to a certain extent, right? And that's why I love Naruto. Like, I love the series because it's real in that way, because it's like, yes, like Rock Lee doesn't have any talent, but he works hard, but to a certain extent, that's only going to take you so far, right? Because you come across a guy like Gaara who has this like tailed beast in him and can use sand out of his gourd and just choke you. Like, it's only going to take you so far to someone like that. And that's true, right? Like, it's like you could play basketball as hard as you want. Like, you could be my height, 5'8", and you could train all day. But you're not going to be better than somebody who's 7 feet tall, right? That you can't beat someone who's 7 feet tall. Like, that 7-footer is just going to dunk it over you every single time, right? And that's how life works. So Naruto keeps it kind of real, right? It's like very inspirational. It's like this inspirational message about, yes, like there's hard work, and hard work will overcome a lot, right? It will overcome a lot of deficiencies, and you will even surpass a lot of people. Because you see in the very beginning that Rock Lee is even stronger than Naruto in the very beginning, right? So hard work even overcomes and overtakes a lot of people. However, to a certain extent, right? To a certain extent, and I like that it keeps it real about that. I didn't love the fact that the tournament got interrupted, but that's okay. I mean, I'm willing to overlook that because it led to another one of the most legendary fights of all time, which is the third Hokage versus Orochimaru, and that was pretty awesome. And in there, you really get to see the old school Hokages come back and kind of get to see what they can do, which is really cool because, you only hear about it, but visualizing it and seeing it is just this different level. And so Naruto, the first part, really did it for me. And for me, I would give it an A+. And if it was just Naruto, the first part, it would definitely have a seat in my top 25. However, it's not just Naruto, the first part, but it's also Naruto Shippuden, right? And Naruto Shippuden, I think, has a pretty good start. After the time skip, there's a lot of good stuff, and I think Akatsuki is one of the best group of villains that I've ever read about. Right? I think only the homunculus of Fullmetal Alchemist really tops Akatsuki. I like Akatsuki better than even the Phantom Troop in Hunter x Hunter. I mean, they're a pretty cool group of villains, and Itachi as a villain, is one of the most badass villains that has ever been written, right? And even shown in a manga or anime. And so, this whole idea of Sasuke getting revenge, and, that's a tale that's been done many, many times. We've seen it as far as, Lone Wolf and Cub dating back to like 1960s or whatever. But you really felt this sense of justice, right, for Sasuke, like let the guy get his justice, and you really hope that one day he could get his justice, right, for his clan being slaughtered by his brother. However, of course, we do find out that there's more complexities to that than we originally thought, and it turns out that Itachi is not really what we thought he was, and he wasn't truly a villain. I mean, he didn't do the greatest thing in the world, but, he was torn inside, and he had this moral dilemma that he had to do, whether it was his loyalty to the village or his loyalty to his clan. And that kind of complexity I thought was cool. I thought it was okay. Did I love it? No, not really. Did it feel like, Itachi's character got retconned a little bit. Is that how you say it? Retcon? I don't know. But anyway, yeah, it really did. Just because, like, I don't think that a villain who was really a good guy all along would have tortured Kakashi for 72 straight hours. But, some people were like, oh, he had to play the part. I mean, you don't have to do 72 straight hours. I mean, you could have done 30 minutes and you would have still played the villain part. Or you torturing a guy for an hour is enough. Come on, you didn't have to do it for 72 straight hours. Or whatever it was. It was a really lengthy period of time. So, that in that sense, I do feel like his character got a little bit of a retcon. But anyway, I know you diehard Naruto fans out there probably feel otherwise. But the Akatsuki battle, where they're kind of hunting down this Akatsuki group and they're fighting against all this Akatsuki group, I thought was pretty cool. I thought Sasori fight was pretty cool. The Hidan fight was pretty cool. All that I thought was good. I mean, I didn't think anything really progressed in terms of like the characters and whatnot, but I thought it was cool. I thought the fights were cool. I thought the showdowns were cool, and I even thought it was great until Pain. I thought Pain was a great villain. I thought Pain was very complex, and we see his background story, and we see his motivations and whatnot, and you do kind of feel this sense of like understanding, like of like kind of like Thanos, like where Pain is coming from. However, I think that that's kind of where this idea of like Naruto seeing the good in somebody and convincing that person to change from a bad guy into a good guy started to get a little bit old for me. Just because he just does it all throughout the whole series, right? Like the whole series is just Naruto coming across a villain like Gaara, like whoever, right? And then seeing the good in them, hearing about their backstory, originally wanting to beat the heck out of them, but then finally realizing that they're very similar to him, and he's like, oh, he's just like me, and then he kind of shares his story, and they kind of have this like connection, and then the person turns to good, and that kind of gets old after a while. But anyway, I was willing to take it until Pain, right? I think Pain is where like I was like, okay, if the story ends right here, it was a great story, right? I just really thought it was a great story. I didn't love the fact that they brought everyone back. I just want you guys to know, I am not a fan of bringing characters back, right? Because when they die, I feel this like sense of sadness, and then when they get brought back, I feel robbed. And I had a hard time with Dragon Ball with this. I actually read Dragon Ball recently, and I just couldn't stand the fact that they keep bringing the characters back. Like, nobody ever dies. Like, when do you ever really feel sad for a character dying? Because you never know, they might bring them back, right? Even if they're like, oh no, they're dead for good now. Like, they might find another planet that has some more different type of Dragon Balls or something that might be able to bring that person back. So you never really truly feel like somebody is truly gone. And I kind of felt cheated in Naruto in that Pain arc when they brought everyone back. But little did I know that's not even like that's even just like a little taste of what they were gonna do when they actually bring everybody back. Literally everybody, right? They actually bring everybody back in the Ninja War, and that's where for me everything just started going downhill. I'm not saying that the Ninja War didn't have some good fights. I am saying that it dragged on way too long. Just way too long. And I think Kishimoto himself said that he wanted the manga to be about 50 volumes. It ended up being about 72 or 73 volumes. And that just shows you that his original vision wasn't to drag it on that long. I do believe he faced a lot of pressure from Shonen Jump. Naruto was a huge hit. And I think that Shonen Jump was afraid of the fact that if they stopped this manga too short, that they would lose a lot of their readership, right? And so for that very reason, I think that it really dragged on way too long, and it should have ended at the Pain arc or shortly after the Pain arc, but they ended up doing this thing where they brought back everybody from the past, and I know that there was a lot of loose ends that needed to be tied up, but I really just didn't care about a lot of them. We didn't need every single loose end to be tied up. They brought in some new characters, which I really didn't care for either, because there was already too many characters to begin with. And that's my beef with My Hero Academia, is that there's just way too many characters in My Hero Academia, and you don't care about most of them. And Naruto, there's just way too many characters, and when they introduce all these new characters, you don't care about any of these new characters, right? You don't care what happened to them. And so for that very reason, it just kind of felt like they're just adding on even more characters just for the sake of adding on more characters. And the final boss battle went on forever, and then they did the switcheroo so many times. Like, oh, first it was Madara's the real villain, but then there's Obito, and then there's Madara again, and then it's Black Zetsu, and then it's Kaguya. I don't even know. At the end, I didn't even know. I didn't even care. I didn't even care at the end. I really didn't even care. And Kaguya was like, where did she even come from? Like, who is this person, right? Like, it's crazy. Like, I don't think I ever read a manga where they just introduced the final villain, like, out of nowhere, just at the end like that. Like, hey, by the way, this was actually the final villain all along. Like, what the heck? Like, you just dragged on for years. I read Naruto. I read the manga as it was coming out weekly, and I read this like Madara fight for years. I literally mean years. This went on for years. And then only to be like, oh, by the way, that wasn't the real villain. It was just like random Kaguya or whatever. And yeah, I know that was like the setup for Boruto or whatever. I don't really care for that. And so Kishimoto kind of let me down there. I felt like he was more interested in setting up what he had planned moving forward than actually giving Naruto a good ending. By the time it got to the Naruto Sasuke fight, I know that everybody liked that fight and thought it was moving. But I was just so exhausted, to be honest, by then, so I didn't care too much for it, just because I was so disappointed by what happened with Kaguya. And so, let's divide up Naruto Shippuden into two. I would say the first part was kind of a B or B minus, just because I didn't think there was really all that much there that progressed in the story other than the fact that it was just this fight against Akatsuki, but it was entertaining enough. It was cool, and as I mentioned, Akatsuki was a great villain group. But Naruto Shippuden, the second part, post-Pain, I thought was a complete waste of my time. I really wish it didn't exist. However, it does, and I have all the copies of it. But I do think that everything just dragged on for way too long. They brought back characters that they really shouldn't have, because we got a proper goodbye for a lot of them. Like, we got a proper goodbye for Zabuza and Haku, right? We got a proper goodbye for Azuma. So we really didn't have to have another goodbye, right? We didn't have to say goodbye twice, right? And yeah, so I do think that in that sense, things got a little bit repetitive. But, I mean, if you're a diehard fan, like, I knew that there were some diehard fans, they just wanted to see certain fights, like what would have happened if this person fought this person, and they got to see that fight, so they thought it was pretty cool. Whatever. I mean, for me, it's really not much about that. I'm more about how is the story progressing, and I just didn't think it progressed very well. And so for that very reason, Naruto didn't make my top 25, just because I think the last 1/3 of it just killed it for me. And I hate to say that, because I'm such a fan of this manga. I have such a special place in my heart for Naruto himself. To me, Naruto is like the Game of Thrones of mangas, where it really caught my attention for like 2/3 of it, and then the last 1/3 just trashed the whole thing. And in that way, it's very disappointing, because it could have been the greatest of all time, but it's really not. And that's not to take away the brilliance of Naruto, especially part 1, the original Naruto. I think it really does, have its special place in my heart, and I am gonna keep on reading it over and over and over again. Just because it has one of my favorite arcs in the Chunin Exam, as I mentioned, and just some of the most memorable characters that I've ever seen written. So anyway,